Yes, people, welcome to another episode of the Rings and Things Fantasy Basketball Podcast. We're joined here today with Gioni, representing points, assists and rebounders.
Gentlemen.
Curtis, representing Drum City Blaze.
Let's get it.
And myself, Marcus, representing Croydon Crusaders, #1 spot.
Barely.
We've got another big episode for you guys today. Obviously, we're going to go through all the usual fantasy stuff in terms of standings, waiver wire, hiccups, and injuries. Also, we're going to obviously cover a lot of the big performances, the recent trades, and who has improved the most from those trades. But before we start, we're going to allow Tahir to explain the rules of our league.
Here's your quick run-through and guide to the NN2 Basketball Association Fantasy League. We have 9 teams in our competition, including the Atlanta Snipers, Bath City Pythons, Brum City Blaze, Croydon Crusaders, Clutch City, the Essex Eurostep, Leicester Red Eyeballs, point assisting rebounders, and the South Norwood Knights. Each team has 13 players in their roster, 10 are active and 3 are on the bench. Players can be changed once a week, but once the first game they're scheduled to play in that week has started, they'll be locked in exactly where they are. Teams were determined via a draft. Players not selected go into the free agency pool and can be picked up twice a week with a bid from a budget of $100. Players go to the highest bidding team. Another way to get players is via trades. 2 teams can do a single or multiplayer trade, and all trades are signed off by the commissioner to ensure they're not too one-sided. We use a rotisserie style scoring format, so when one of your players scores points, they will be added to your team's total for the year. If your team has scored the most points, you will be awarded 9 points. If your team has scored the least, you will get 1 point. This is a case across all of our 9 categories: field goal percentage, free throw percentage, 3-pointers made, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and points. The owner with the most points across the year will be crowned NBA Fantasy Champions of the NN2 Basketball Association.
All right, guys. So where do we want to kick things off? I think it is pertinent to have a look at the standings and where everyone is at the moment.
Yeah, let's have a quick look.
Let's have a quick look.
I don't need people to be looking at it for too long.
You're moving.
Not too much to see.
Well, just for the listeners to know, I think we've got a really special episode. You know, we've got two very experienced GMs on the podcast today. Couple champions. What we got? Is it 2 rings or 5 rings between?
It's couple champions and champions couple times.
Yeah, I hear that.
So, you know, if all goes well, guys, you should get some good knowledge from a couple of these guys, even though they're not doing too well in the league. But yeah, let's get to that.
Disclaimer. Disclaimer. Just number 1, I ain't trying to say too much. I ain't trying to give away the magic recipe. This is like the Colonel's special recipe. I ain't trying to give up the herbs and spices.
What's the point of the pod? I don't understand.
Man, I ain't here for anyone else today. I only came here to make fun of you. But secondly, the biggest disclaimer, Curtis is a liar. So don't take everything he says for gospel.
Ladies, yeah, relax. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's have a look at the league, yeah.
So
number 1, yeah. And it's been number 1 for quite a few weeks, haven't we? We have Croydon Crusaders, myself, yeah, future champion. Number 2, we have Clutch City, which is Jermaine. I believe he's just recently got back to number 2. We have in number 3, we have South Norwood Knights, that's Stevie. Number 4, we have Atlanta Snipers, that's Jay. Number 5, we have Brum City Blaze. Also, number 5, we have Essex Eurostep with Demona. Number 7, we have Varsity Pythons, and that's Ray. Number 8, we have Points Assisting Rebounders. That's Dione. And number 9, we have Leicester Red Eyeballs, and that's Tahir.
Only thing that pops out to me is the top 3 are separated by 2 points.
Why does that pop out to you?
Because it's just a nice tight race at the top. Like normally you don't get a tight race at the top. Like normally,
Yeah.
it might be a 2-horse thing, but even that first horse is a couple of furlongs ahead. But like at this stage,
I'm glad someone said something. Glad someone said something.
it's super rare. Like I actually don't remember it being this tight, this late in the day. Like the times I've won it, it's been at a count. I know there was one year I tried to make Curtis feel good about himself by saying, "Yeah, there's a chance," but there wasn't.
Whoa.
There wasn't really a chance, and he ended up finishing third anyway. How embarrassing. Stevie won it at a counter. I think the year Jermaine won it, he won it at a counter after I obviously slipped down the rankings. But it tends to be not this close, this late in the year. So to
So
see,
you've been telling me for the last few weeks it's early, so I'm confused.
it's still not. I'm not saying it's late. I'm saying this late. I'm saying this far gone into the year.
see.
It's not. I'm not saying it's. It's still definitely early. People are still picking up 4 points tonight. It's still definitely early.
Yeah.
Which is why you shouldn't get carried away at all, especially not with a 1 point advantage. I'm just saying, normally at this stage, it wouldn't be a 3-horse race. Sorry, I said 3-horse race. I'm going to say 4-horse race because someone else did jump into the top 3 there very, very briefly. It's very jumpy.
It almost looks as if something drastic happens to someone that should have been dominating, but we won't really go into that. But it looks like a very tight race. I've never seen it before. I know that the year that I won it, I was questioning whether I had the largest margin of all time of victories. So I know I had a good margin. I know the last year obviously got a bit political, but it was looking like a 2-horse race essentially.
No, it was definitely a 2-horse race.
Definitely,
it was definitely a 2-horse. We could go back and forth over is this what happened, should this happen? Did the rules get changed? Did the rules get changed before they should have or should have? We could do all that another day. But
let's just say it this way. Let's just say it this way. People that had chips would have got another chip.
Exactly.
However, this year, the table's looking quite tight, and the person that's been claiming the most victory this year has been very quiet of late.
What? Wait, hold on. So, just for the listeners, basically, I'm.
Whoa. You say.
Wait, hold on.
No, wait, no,
guys.
No, wait.
You're not going to hear me. You're not going to hear me.
I've heard this a few times when I'm listening to you lot speak on this pod. For the listeners, for who else is it for? Who else is it for?
No, I'm just clarifying.
It's definitely not for the viewers. It can only be for the listeners.
No, I'm just clarifying that you guys are not one of those listeners because you don't want to hear it. Clearly. But for the people that are actually going to listen to me and actually hear where I'm coming from, I've been top and dominating for the past few weeks, fair few weeks, and obviously I've had a recent injury to one LeBron James, King James, that would hurt anyone, to be honest. But obviously since then and before then, a couple of my players have been underperforming, so therefore I've lost a couple of points. Not only just that, if you understand the way the league works, a couple of the people at the bottom end of the table, i.e. Ray, Curtis, Dione, Tahir, some of their players have performed a bit better. So it's obviously taken a couple of points from me. But I'm going to stand on my conviction of my prediction that I was going to win this thing. So I'm not moving, although it's getting a lot tighter and it's getting very crowded and I want to move. I don't know why all these people around there, you're all bringing down the property value. Get away from me. I'm trying to move away from you, man. But that's my
situation. You've been moonwalking into second place, bro. Let's call it what. The last couple of weeks, even before LeBron went out, you had already started moonwalking. So let's not. It's all right. Let's not invent history. Like you were already slipping. Yes, LeBron has made your seemingly precipitous fall that much faster, but it was beginning, and here we are now. And it's good to see. I'm saying it's good. It's a good. You're still a favorite. You're in the league. It's just
Yeah,
good.
that's it.
It's just good. It's fun to see from someone who isn't invested at the top for the first time ever. It's fun. I couldn't imagine seeing a one horse race if I was still in 8th position. That would be dead. But to see a good 3 horse, 4 horse race, Curtis, I'm sure wants me to say 5 horse race.
I don't mind 4 horses. I'm going to be in that top.
But if I say Curtis 5 horse race, I have to say Demo 5 horse race because he's tied to that 6 horses now. It can't be a 2/3 in the league race. So 3 horse race, maybe a 4 horse race. It's just fun to see from.
That 4, I thought you're very generous with that 4. To be honest, I can't lie.
I know they popped up into top 3. Was it 2nd or 3rd they popped into just this week? So if you were 2nd, if you're second just this week, I'm not going to rule you out of hand with 7-8 weeks left to go. I'm not going to rule you out of hand. It's early. one more injury. So I'm not going to rule out Jay in 4th place there as potentially winning this.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think the people that are in the top 3, top 4, or I won't say top 4 because that is Jay in that 4th spot, but the people in top 3, they've benefited from a bout of good health recently. That can flip in a flash. And with how tight the league is this year, I think there might be a shock as to who actually takes it home. But I think that the league's going to shift quite a bit. And when I say shock, I'm not even just speaking on my team's case. I think there's a lot of teams that can very well flip things around. As Dion said, from an angle, it's early. Not when we're up top.
We've got
this year, it's early.
7 weeks left of the league. Yeah, of our fantasy league. That's what we've got currently. So, a few things can happen. But just, I say, going back to what's actually transpired over this week, I think it's been very busy, man. Obviously, the trade deadline, a lot of the moves that have happened. Do you want to start with the contenders? I think.
That's what it has on the rundown. So we probably should start with the contenders.
I was proceeding to do so, yeah. So,
that's good.
But if you're asking me, do you want to start? And it says on the notes, contenders at the top. Hey, how about we start at the top?
Oh, so you don't know what a rhetorical question is? All right, cool. Anyways, we've got Brooklyn, who signed LaMarcus Aldridge. Well, it's not a trade. That's more of a buyout. But what do you think, guys?
It's a big move. I think Brooklyn's getting a whole lot of flack at the moment for toiling up or for, stacking the deck, as they say. But it's not the first time it's happened. I think people overreact at moments like this because there are some very talented players involved. Their big 3, if you want to call it that, Harden, Kyrie, and KD, when he does get back, is alone a championship contender. So the pieces that they're adding, LaMarcus last
multiple
week,
All-Star.
added Blake, multiple time All-Star, someone that's shown that he can still play a role in the latter years of his career, and willing to take a smaller role. Pop's shown that he can get that out of LaMarcus, so it looks like he's comfortable. So we'll see, but it looks like a very big move to me.
I don't know. I don't know if people are kind of over-exaggerating the move because, this season he's been averaging 13.7 points, 0.9 blocks, 0.4 steals, 1.7 assists, and 4.5 rebounds. It's not the best. He's definitely on the tail end of his career. It's obviously another experienced body. It's another big body where they lack size at one stage. They've now got, quite good depth in that position. But is he actually going to perform that many minutes? Because they kind of crowded in that area at the moment.
Regular season, no. I think it very much so is a pickup for the playoffs when you need experienced players, when the game kind of falls into half-court sets, slows down. You don't really want the young players like they've identified. So who was it? Is it Claxton, the guy's name?
Yeah.
They've got a young centre there that looks like he's got some potential, but when the lights are shining bright, you want that guy that's going to be where he needs to be, when he needs to be there. He's going to run plays how he's meant to run plays, and you're not going to have to worry about him. You send him out and he does his job.
Yeah. Can Aldridge actually, can he still stretch the floor? As a 3-point shooter, as a long 2 shooter, can he still do that,
Has he ever really been able to stretch the floor? Has he ever really been able to stretch the floor because the long twos that he's taking
Mm.
those are the shots that the opponent wants you to take.
Mm. But he
It's
messed around with a free shot at one season, I believe. I didn't know whether that remained consistent or whether that's
last year.
Yeah,
was the first year he made over 1 3-pointer a game. He's repeating it this year as well, 1.3. It's not exactly earth-shattering, and he's shooting at 36%. So it's not incredible.
Which isn't bad though. I wouldn't say it's not incredible, but it's not bad for a big man.
It will still be the liability on the Nets. Like if you're coaching against the Nets and you look at Kyrie, you look at Harden, you look at Durant, you look at maybe a Joe Harris, you look at LaMarcus Aldridge. The game plan is cool. Let LaMarcus beat us from free. Let him shoot threes. Because that's still the weakness.
For example, let's say that's the difference between having an Embiid in the paint or putting the Embiid out to the 3-point line when they match up in the playoffs. It can make a big difference.
If I'm Philly and LaMarcus is on the 3-point line, I'm not guarding you with Embiid then.
Or let's not say 3. Let's just say to his spots, because we know a stepping side from the 3-point line, that's LaMarcus's shot. That long mid-range, he's been shooting that all his career. So let's say that spot, getting Embiid to there with Kyrie, Harden, KD, slashes like that, that's the difference maker. That's the difference between 6-game series and a sweep.
Yeah, but I don't. How can I say this gently? Because I know some of you lot can accuse me of being a bit too coarse in my words, so I'll try and be gentle. I don't think he's good anymore. Like, let's actually just consider that for 1 second. When was the last time LaMarcus Aldridge looked good?
The thing is, I hear what you're saying. I don't think he looks good anymore. But I believe he looks better than Blake for the simple reason he's got an old man game. Blake does not have. He has a young man's game in an old man's body, and it just don't look great.
The one thing I'll always flag about LaMarcus is, although he's on the tail end of his career, he's been doing his job in Pop's system for the last 3-4 seasons. Their big men haven't really historically been big scorers, so I'm not sure if it's the case of he can't do his job anymore, as opposed to less was asked of him before they've got rid of him. So we've not really seen LaMarcus be featured. And in a second unit, he'll be featured. He'll definitely get touches of the ball with that second unit.
With a big 3, there's no such thing as a second unit. It doesn't exist.
There'll be someone.
Because
I hear that.
You're still going to have 2 of the All-Stars on at all time. So it's either going to be, Kyrie, Harden, or Durant being featured or co-featured. He's going to be third option or fourth option behind Blake. Really and truly, they should both be like 5th, 6th option behind Joe Harris.
Yeah.
So the way I'm seeing this play out in my head is they have decisions to make. They have big names like Blake, big names like Aldridge now, but the best lineup that they have this year is with Jeff Green playing center.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That is the best lineup. Jeff Green at center, the big 3 on, and Joe Harris as the ultimate floor spacer this year.
Yeah.
If you want to mess some of that up by taking off of Jeff Green for LaMarcus Aldridge, if let's just say, for example, they go up against the Lakers in the final, if I'm LeBron, the ultimate matchup hunter, I'm like, where's Aldridge? Cool, got him. And a lot of the time, the playoffs just come down to either matchups or someone hunting a specific matchup. So do you actually say, listen, Blake, LaMarcus, you still have something to offer, but maybe for this matchup, we don't want you to get hunted. We already have, some semi-liabilities defensively in Kyrie and James Harden. KD is a capable defender. I don't know if he can defend outside of his position much. I'm not too sure. I haven't actually seen him just openly taking point guards and stuff like that. But I can imagine a series against a Boston Celtics where you have Kemba. Maybe a Kemba try to say, "Hey, cool, let me go after LaMarcus or Blake or KD." I don't know how that would look. I'm sure KD will be fine, but those are the weaknesses that they're putting themselves at. So maybe they just say, "Boys, sit down. We're going to play with what we have in terms of Joe Harris and what's the deadhead's name that I just said? At center, Jeff Green. Jeff Green at center. Who would have thought it?
They're literally buying a ring. Shameless. And I always like every episode. Yeah, I just want people to know that Blake Griffin's, is a pussy. That everyone knows that Blake Griffin is a pussy.
Wow.
We all got to know that Blake. No. Before you go,
what?
Curtis, Blake Griffin is a pussy. Like we all got to know that. Yeah, cool. Cheers.
It's tough to just label a player like that. I get it with the fact that he's pulled off a few dunks and he's got a bit loud recently, saying he's back or he's still got it. For years, or definitely the last 2 years, the memo on Blake to me has been that he's been dead. Like everyone's been saying that he's done. Is pretty much at
part of it was because of injuries.
Yeah, that's it. And when injuries start
you know.
happening to big men, when them injuries do start recurring over and over again, you do start calling those players dead, and they do usually become role players. So
do you expect another injury? Is that what you're saying?
I personally think there's actually a high possibility that he'll get injured before the end of this season. But I do think he'll have a role in the playoffs.
The thing is, yeah, why I say he's a pussy is that, like, all right, cool. You're now jumping up and down, yeah, where you was at a place where you didn't jump for what 3 years or something at least.
Yeah,
a place there where they paid you to be a star. They paid him to be a star, yeah, and he was far from it. Majority of the time, he didn't show up for work because he's injured, yeah. And now all of a sudden, you get traded. You want to be jumping up and down. You want to be pushing your ex-teammates. You want to run past your bench. The team that paid you way more than anyone else should have paid you or was willing to pay you, but now you've got to gripe against them for some reason. I don't understand.
I think a lot of fans and a lot of people that watch basketball, they have short memories, because we have to see it as it's only 2 years ago, that when Blake came into this the season, he was doing bits at the Pistons. He was averaging his 25 odd. He was doing Blake Griffin numbers, and he got hurt. You almost sometimes have to put yourself in the shoes of the athlete and ask yourself, if I'm playing for a franchise that's not really going out their way to field the kind of team that can contend. Or don't get me wrong, I know some of them smaller market teams, they try. They just aren't able to put together certain caliber of teams with the ease that the larger market teams can. But as a player, if you're in that position where the team around you isn't capable, do you not see the angle where it's smart to preserve your body and not be going 100% 24/7?
No, have you got no pride? There's no like, are you not a professional? I don't understand. Like, for you to say that you're just gonna half-ass it, yeah, because the franchise has not surrounded you with sufficient, talent to compete for a championship is ridiculous. Like, if anything, if you didn't feel that you could feel that role of being that superstar or that star, you shouldn't have taken that money. You've taken that money. You can't now complain that the franchise hasn't spent that money elsewhere to field you better players with. Doesn't make sense.
But then on the flip side, he gave the small market team the opportunity and signed there, where there was a few bigger market teams that were going for him at the time. So it's always a two-sided coin. It's like, players do make a lot of sacrifices that a lot of us don't acknowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, get it.
He got traded, I swear.
He got moved in the end. He did get moved.
He got traded to Detroit.
Yeah.
So he didn't just give them a chance.
Did he not take an extension? Was he midway through a new contract?
He signed with the Clippers, and they sold him on, having his name in the rafters and the statue and all that nonsense. They did some massive presentation, and then seemingly at the first opportunity they had, they shipped him out, and he wasn't happy.
My fault. Even more so, the Pistons risk. They took a player that took a risk, rolled the dice. They rolled the dice. They rolled the dice.
Yeah, they rolled the dice. They gave him a home. The only thing he sacrificed was living in Detroit. He didn't sacrifice nothing. He barely came to work. What do you mean about sacrifice? That guy got overpaid for what? Wow. Is it 3 years he was there? The guy got overpaid for 3 years. And then you want to be coming around. As soon as you leave the team, you want to be acting funny against your old teammates. These are young, up-and-coming players. They done you nothing. You barely know them.
There's worse people. I hear you, but there's worse. There's worse. There's your Dengs and your Turners.
For Blake,
in the world.
yeah. For the fact that Brooklyn got Blake, I don't want Brooklyn to win no title. No title this year. LeBron all the way.
I prefer underdog, to be fair. So, and not many smart sports people will bet against the Kings, so we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But having a look at the next one on our list, we have.
Sorry, before we do, has anyone got Blake or LaMarcus in our league?
Nah, no one's stupid as far as I'm aware.
The role players there.
There's certain dodgy GMs that had them at the beginning of the year for some strange reason, but we won't go into that. But yeah, I think the next one we have to look at is Milwaukee, who are expected to sign Jeff Teague, and and also leaders to sign Austin Rivers, who I believe got recently waived by the Knicks. Then that got shipped off to OKC.
He went a lot of places and went nowhere at the same time.
Yeah, basically. If you know NBA, then that's what he did, basically. He's one of them, man. But what do you guys think about these potential moves?
Good for Milwaukee to get some depth at the point guard position. Veteran in Jeff Teague. So good for them there. Austin Rivers, he could supply a spark off the bench.
Yeah.
He's probably better than DiVincenzo, no?
Is it not a bit concerning that these are two players that came from playoff teams who felt that we were all right, like we don't need those players?
Who did Jeff Teague come from?
Boston.
No, not really. Doesn't concern me because if you don't fit, you don't fit. Sometimes simple as that.
And at the same time, it's the role that you've got. I think Jeff Teague was mainly brought in to be a Kemba Walker filler until Kemba got his legs back under him. Kemba's now playing near 30 odd minutes a game, so let him have his piece. Let him go somewhere where he feels that they can contend, because we're calling Boston a contender. The records say otherwise.
They're not in the contender spot. I'll tell you that for free. Then we've got Philly, who I believe their most notable move was bringing in
George Hill.
Yeah, that was it.
Bringing in a steady hand at point guard that could that can maybe make things easier for Ben Simmons. Because
explain.
Ben Simmons, before the George Hill trade, was in my head the only capable person who could run an offense. George Hill can do that. He's not going to come and make mistakes unless he's playing with LeBron. But outside of that, he's going to be a steady hand that can lighten the load for a Ben Simmons. So I like that there. And then defensively, it frees up Ben Simmons to not even have to think about guarding the point guard. We've seen Ben Simmons do an amazing job guarding, who was it? Was it Jamal Murray or Donovan Mitchell this year? Or some Western Conference guard.
Yeah.
But George Hill can do come off the bench, maybe even could do a capable job doing that. It will free up Ben Simmons to maybe take on someone else, so he doesn't have to get bogged down in a series against Brooklyn thinking about Kyrie. Yeah. Now he can focus on the bigger boys, the Hardens and the Kevin Durant's.
But personally, I've always thought Ben was better off with the ball in his hands. Whenever the ball's not in his hands, I don't see the necessary value in him offensively. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if he's a great slasher. As far as I'm aware, his best offensive move is obviously in transition, getting to the rack.
I think that's where George Hill comes in handy, because it's not always about just purely running George Hill at point. It's having that secondary option so you can run different offenses. You can run George Hill off the ball, as he has been in a number of situations. He's played with players like LeBron. Recently, the first thing I always think about is that shot. So maybe don't kick the ball to him, Ben Simmons, but he's played with players that are dominant ball handlers. So he's been in that kind of system before. He's a veteran player. He's not exactly young. He's been around the league a long time. So I see it as a good move.
And they didn't really have to give up much to get him as well. So it could only help them. But I say they didn't have to give up much. I say that. But Doc did have to give up his son and traded, which is, I think, a very underreported story, that Doc Rivers traded his son to the New York Knicks. It's a little bit mad. The conversation would have been a little bit wild. I'm sure Doc just said, nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. blame the GM, blame Daryl Morey. Nothing to
Just
do with me.
business.
He's
Just
had,
business.
they can see your
It's
foot
true.
through your head, but you see through hair. I don't think I forgot, Glenn. I don't think I forgot.
It's business. It
And
is
speaking
business.
of people that I think I forgot about them, fuck Ed Woodward.
Next, I don't know why this team's in here, to be honest. It's really annoying me. Boston, they're in the contender section. They
got 2 All-Stars, mate.
What does that mean? I'm
It
confused.
means they're an exciting team.
That's nice.
We have to remind ourselves, or let's not forget, although they're not the
Go
6th
on.
for the Nets,
Tell him.
they are in the 7th seed.
Tell him.
There are playoffs and play-in spots this year,
Tell him.
and there's still a lot of games to go. There's still another 20 odd games to go. So
Tell
yeah,
him.
it can change a lot. Don't write them off.
All right, answer me this. Have Boston gotten worse over the last 3 years, consistently, every year?
It's tough to say got worse.
No, they haven't.
As opposed,
No, they
to-
haven't.
they've changed the roles of their players more than people care to acknowledge.
That has happened.
That's a
You're
fair
correct.
point.
That has happened. Okay, number one, they are contenders because they're a game outside of having home court in the first round of the playoffs. If you're 4 seed, you're not a contender, then boy, I don't know. Like, they're a contender right now.
If they're a contender, then New York are a contender.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I
I don't know why Boston are above New York on this rundown thing.
I'll tell you, I can tell
But
you. why.
anyways,
Because Boston are realistic, because they had a massive injury for
Huh?
someone to come back from. They had a massive injury and that they're waiting for someone to come back from. Whereas the Knicks have been pretty much healthy.
What, Mitch Robinson?
Oh yeah, the much vaunted Mitchell Robinson.
Wait. Who was Boston's massive injury? I don't understand.
Kemba Walker,
See,
the fucking all-star point guard.
hold on. I'm putting Mitchell Robinson and Kemba right here.
No.
Side by side.
Wow.
That is rude.
Wow.
You the one that said that Kemba is
Wow.
dead, and you would.
That is-
No, he's not an all-star. Kemba ain't
That
been an
is-
all-star since he left Charlotte. Relax.
That is rude.
Oh
Have I got?
my
Wait,
gosh.
have I got both of them? I know I've got Mitchell Robinson.
I think you might have.
Oh my gosh, that's why I'm 8. I'm dead. Damn man, I'm dead. Mitchell Robinson
Oh,
comes back, steals some more money, and then busts his foot on some flint. Anyway, Boston. I like the move
lost your
Boston
point,
made.
innit?
I like the moves that Boston made. Again, Evan Fournier, they need some help, and Fournier is better than Jeff Teague
He
at
put
this
up a
stage of
Dodge yesterday though.
first game.
0 for 10.
He doesn't
I know,
even know. He doesn't even know
I-
the plays. They made him get changed in the car park.
It's a blind. It's a blind. I'm not calling him trash all of a sudden, but it was very much so a dud.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to hear from Evan Fournier's owner and what this move, Boston's owner, or Boston City Blaze, what he feels this is going to do for this team.
You know what? I'll say it straight. I feel that Fournier has always been the kind of player that more suits a tertiary or a 6-man role. So either that third option or off the bench. In Orlando, he's not exactly been a 20-odd point per game scorer, has he? He puts up around 14, 15 shots a game, averages 17, 18. What's to say he can't pretty much do that for Boston? Splitting minutes with Marcus Smart. I think that a lot of people in our league have overreacted a bit to this trade, but we'll see.
So do you see him putting up the same numbers or lower numbers or higher numbers in his new role at the Celtics?
I see the points per game going down slightly. So I think going down to like a 16, which could very well be his career average. Could very well be. And the assist and rebounds, I see him staying similar. He only gets like 3 of each. I don't see why not.
And do you want to tell the people why we call you Boston City Blaze? Dione SR 2021.
It's out. Nah, fam, there was no one else on this project.
Passing credits.
There was no one else on this project. There was no research team. There was no funding group. This was just I.
I do say though, I did like the name. But obviously for the people out there, I've got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on my team this year. They're both balling. I've been getting trades for more seasons. So I don't know why too many people are talking. I've picked up Robert Williams. He's in a very good opportunity right now. He's put up 10 rebounds last game, 40 in the game before. And he's one of the best blockers in the league. So
he also put up 7 points, 9 points, 7 points, and 6 points.
For certain people,
they only want to tell you the good stuff.
Hey, I'm honest with the people out there. For certain people, when you've got 3 20-point per game scorers coming back, you don't worry about Robert Williams getting less than 10. You know, you kind of chill. But we've got Rob Will. So block shots. And then we've got Fournier. He got traded there recently. But again, I think he can pretty much maintain his role. And on my squad, I've got players to go in for him anyway. So again, I think it's a lot of unnecessary noise from the crowd we're hearing at the moment.
So out of is it 13 team roster? Is it 14 teams? You've got 5 players.
Is it 5?
Is it 5 or 4?
I've got 4.
Yeah, calm down. I've got 4. I've got 4.
You know what I always say?
Don't exaggerate.
You know what I always say? I like to think.
I've only got most of their starting lineup. Calm down.
I like to think I'm a fairly experienced fantasy player, and the one thing I always say is, no matter what team a player is on, they're going to put up the same numbers. So if Fournier was on someone else's squad and they didn't have other Celtics, he'd play the same game. So let the game continue.
So for the young GMs out there, JD, would you recommend Curtis's tactics to them?
I wouldn't recommend any tactics to anyone.
I'm not the GM. I did not trade Fournier. Let me just get that out there for the people. I did not trade Fournier.
Yeah, that wasn't his choice. When you really look at it, he got 2 All-Stars and a young budding center.
Thank you.
That's not true. That's not like.
As a rule of thumb, you wouldn't
Brad and Danny about the rest.
As a rule of thumb, that's
wouldn't
like,
recommend more than 2 players or 3 players.
I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend anything. Whatever comes up in the draft comes up in the draft. I just find it funny that Curtis wants to be Brad Stevens so badly. I find it funny. It's mad. It's not a good move. It's not a bad move. It's just funny for me.
Do you know what's so funny? The fact that Curtis and the Celtics have been intertwined in terms of their whole performance this year.
Do you know what's about to come? There you go. Exactly.
Are they not 7th? Exactly. Are they not 7th in? I believe you're.
On what, 5th or 6th? Something.
Yeah,
like
and they're pretty much 7th in the.
I think the key similarity is that the current real life league is tight, and so is ours. And I think both Boston and my squad are about to make some noise in those standings. So
I thought that was well said. You may listen, Curtis. You may be a liar, but you do speak now. I tell you, that was very, very well said.
Eloquent, very eloquent that was. But in that very competitive East, we have Miami that are in the arms race. They've picked up notably Victor Oladipo. What do we actually, and also Nemanja Bjelica, but I wouldn't say it's notable.
Hey, I was gonna say let's cover all my picks. I'm not sure if the people out there do know. Big Miami Heat fan, so I'll jump in first there. just to make sure we get the correct news out, Pat Riley got Oladipo for a bag of crisps and whatever change he had in his vehicle at that moment. It's a big pickup. I don't care what anyone's saying. He has obviously had up and down form this year. He's been in situations where he's pretty much been the number 1 option. He's coming into a shared offense. He's a 2-way player. I think it's huge. Bjelica is kind of a Kelly Olynyk replacement. He does similar things, doesn't rebound as well, but he's a slightly better ball handler, better shooter. It's kind of a like-for-like piece. We've not long lost Myers Leonard as well.
Is he a worse defender?
I'd say he is a worse defender,
marginally,
but we've got opportunity to bring Precious in a bit more, who's for his age and his mobility is a very good defender. So we've got options there. Having someone that can stretch the floor and obviously run Bam at center is always an option. I think that's our main move anyway. and the direction we're heading in. So yeah, I think Miami, we've had a quiet season or a rocky season. We're about to make a little bit of noise.
No, I think it's big that you were able to pick up Oladipo and Bielitsa and still keep Hero.
Everyone.
And no, but the key bits, Hero and Robinson, to keep 2 young shooters on cheap contracts, to be able to do that, but pick up Oladipo and Bielitsa was I thought that was a good move.
Let's not forget Sir Kendrick. Some people don't rate him. I like him as a piece on our team.
But no, the reason why I left him out is I'm talking about shooters. Because the one thing every team in the league, wants over any other skill at the moment is shooting.
Yeah.
So to be able to do trades and not give up your young cheap shooters, I think is good business yet again.
I think it's good for you guys in the sense that, because watching you guys against the New York Knicks, just for the people, I'm a big New York Knicks fan, been here from day dot. So when things do improve, you know what it is. But anyways, yeah, watching Miami against New York, the offense kind of stagnated, and you could clearly see that, Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson were really struggling. Especially Duncan Robinson, once you rush him off the 3-point line, he kind of doesn't know what to do, and he's an awful defender, I think. Tyler Hero, he's better, but he is so sometime-ish.
He's not, Robinson's not awful. He is the weak link, but he's not awful.
He does try, though. He does.
No, he tries.
And he's long. Yeah. So there's always going to be a flaw, but his flaw's not super, super low like certain man.
Yeah.
The reason why I say he's awful, because he does foul quite a bit, and I don't think he quite understands what is a foul and how to defend and not.
Come on, golly, Marcus.
No, honestly,
you're just on insulting people today.
No,
a grown man doesn't understand what a foul is.
Honestly, I feel like there's certain players, like Dwight Howard, he'll hit you in the head and be like, what foul? I saw Siakam do it the other day. I pushed you for a rebound. Oh, what? You call a foul? No way. Yeah. Certain players don't quite understand what they need to do to avoid silly fouls in it. And I don't think he's the best defender. So I think Oladipo coming off the bench, with that extra offense is going to be very key coming in.
Oh, no, he's going to be starting. We're starting.
He might be starting, which may not be great. I don't know. I have one concern about the Oladipo part of this. He is playing for money. He needs to get his stats up now.
I don't agree because from early last season and the season before, there's been whispers of Oladipo to Miami for a long while. We've had interest in him.
That's a good point.
And he's come out and said that South Beach is, it's an area that he wouldn't mind playing in. I think a lot of players do say them kind of things, though. So, you have to take it.
I'm sorry, what? I don't understand why that's in opposition to what I said.
Not exactly in opposition, but in terms of him just going to play for money.
No, stop. Then you shouldn't have started by saying, I disagree. If it's not in opposition.
My fault. It's a light opposition. I'm not saying you're completely wrong. I'm not saying money is no motive to Oladipo, because he's 28, 29. It should be a motive at that part of your NBA career. And coming off injuries, it should be. However, Miami is somewhere that is stated as being a location of interest. So
no, forget Miami. I'm not talking about. This isn't about Miami. I'm talking about a player who is a free agent in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Every person who's a free agent is going to be playing to get a big contract, whether it's where they're at or where they want to go. So even Oladipo, he's in Miami. He's wanted to be in Miami. He still wants to get paid as much money as possible.
I hear that.
So he may be focused more on himself as opposed to the team. That's my concern.
Yeah, what I would say to that is the fact that I think because Oladipo is a quite unique player, that in terms of he's a good player, he's an all-star, but he's been bounced around quite a bit and he's not really found a home. And I think he does want to make Miami his home. And in order to do that, you kind of have to buy into that Heat culture. And that Heat culture doesn't mess around with, I need to take these many shots to get my money. Like, we don't do that over here. You're going to have to play winning basketball, and therefore then we'll pay you. But I don't think I kind of think his days of getting like a huge contract are kind of done. I think he will get a moderate contract at Miami if he does everything correctly.
Has anyone got Oladipo in our league?
Stevie, I think, but he's got him on ice chilling, which makes sense. You know,
makes sense,
he's very inconsistent, but he's going to be a very good addition to the team. I feel. I think we're ignoring the fact that yes, he's has injuries. He's come back. He's averaging 20 odd this season. Yes, he's shooting a low percentage. He was never a high efficiency player anyway. And he's coming from a position where he's going to be a main focal point into a shared style offense where we need someone that's willing to take shots. Because a lot of the time, you'll notice with Miami, we can swing the life out of the ball and we can play hot potato with the ball a lot. And it's almost like pass. Why is no one willing to take the shot? Oladipo is the guy that ball will go up. And let's be honest, he can make those shots.
And it will brick. But moving on,
I hope we get New York. First.
No, bro, I hope we don't, because you lot are an awful matchup for us. An awful matchup. But
everyone's an awful matchup for you.
The reigning Eastern champs were an awful matchup for everyone.
Relax. Next, we have Raptors, and I think their most notable move wasn't the move. It was actually keeping Kyle Lowry. Their other move is obviously moving on Norman Powell, where they got Gary Trent and Rodney Hood in return from Portland. So what do we think about Kyle Lowry staying, Norman Powell leaving?
I'll be honest, I think that there is an underlying contract situation there. I'm not sure if Norman Powell's on the last year of his deal or not. So it was kind of like he was balling, cash in, get a few options of players that got a few years. I kind of Gary Trent not long signed a decent deal, didn't he? So I think he's got a few years on a contract. Kyle Lowry, again, I'm not sure if it's a similar situation where I know he's getting on in age. I know that he wants another big contract. I think I've read that somewhere. Whether he deserves it at this stage, whether he's putting up those kind of numbers for a large contract, I don't believe so, but it's debatable. Will the Raptors keep him long term? Will they actually offer him a contract? We don't know. So I'm not sure if he's helped or hurt himself by, I can't say encouraging the trade, because I'm not sure if he had any input into having the trade, but I'm not sure if not being traded has helped or hurt him.
Yeah. I just have a quick view on this. Like, for me, Kyle Lowry, I think he still kind of performs at that level in order to make a decent amount of money, but I think it's going to be from a bottom feeder. If he wants to perform at a contender, he's going to have to take less. That's just simple as it is for me. I think Raptors are in a really weird space where they don't want to go for the full rebuild, but they're not going anywhere fast.
Yeah, I agree with that last bit. They are in a weird spot where they're still definitely competitive. They have a tough year this year, not playing in Toronto. So that's why we're seeing the records a bit shaky right now. But they treated Kyle Lowry with respect in terms of not just dealing anywhere for anything. Him and Masai Ujiri seem to have had that respectful understanding. They were happy to move on from each other if the correct deal came up, but apparently the asking price was too high. So it's good to see that respect between a player, GM, and owner. It's good to see that still apparent in the league, because so many times we see that's not really there. Moving on from Norman Powell, I think that's sort of Raptors actually have a good record of building up young players from G League to relative stardom. So maybe they've seen Norman Powell. Maybe you want too much money. Maybe we won't be able to keep you long term, and maybe we can make another one of you. So I think all in all, good moves for the Raptors. That they're good.
Do you think it's fairly surprising that they dealt with Kyle Lowry in this manner, that they didn't actually treat DeRozan in the same manner?
No.
It's opportunity.
Because DeRozan is not good. Like the point.
That's harsh.
Exactly.
That's harsh.
You know, you've been saying it. I'm harsh all day. Jesus.
He's still one of the best basketball players in the world.
Exactly. Should have been an all-star this year. Should have been an all-star this year.
Can I say I'm comparing him to other NBA? I'm not comparing him to
perennial all-stars.
I'm not comparing him to to me and you two. I'm comparing him to
Yeah.
other NBA players.
Yeah.
In the regular season, he's one of the best.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, not so much. And when they had the chance to move off that and get a Kawhi Leonard, that's why you get shipped out.
You have to pull that deal.
That's why you get shipped out, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but wasn't he a bit pissed off at the fact that Masai didn't actually have that conversation with the reason prior to it happening?
No conversation could be had. Let's not forget that you're dealing with the Spurs here. The Spurs ain't trying to let things leak out. They ain't trying to, because that's how you have that conversation with DeMar. Cool. DeMar has that conversation with his agent. His agent now has that conversation with everyone else. Yeah. Let's just keep this moving. You know, that's what they could have been on at the time.
Yeah.
And it would have been a lot more sour if it didn't work out. Toronto got his first ever championship in history.
Nonetheless, it was a good move. But yeah, I just think it's interesting the way Kyle Lowry was dealt with and the way DeRozan was dealt with. But the next one is very interesting, and I really want to talk about this one. Is the Lakers signing Andre Drummond, and I think we've got the perfect person on the mic to speak about this.
Okay,
let
me start. They need a point guard. Now go on, Curtis.
I've been waiting so long for Andre Drummond to sign somewhere. I'm guessing a lot of our listeners are NBA fans, so we know the situation. The Cavs decided to hold Drummond out since somewhere like the first week of February. Apparently looking for trade partners. Got to trade deadline. Still no trade partners, or I heard whispers, but those were definitely on rumor sites, nothing official. And then we got past the trade deadline, and within 3 days, we've seen a signing. Drummond going over to the Lakers. As a fantasy owner of him, I think he's got a big opportunity at least for a couple of weeks while AD's looking a bit iffy. I think even when AD does come back, I think there's a good chance that he won't be pushed to play back-to-back games. He won't be pushed to play crazy amount of minutes because we know the Lakers are positioned to contend and their main focus is going for that championship. It's going to be playoffs. And of course, to have any shot, they need LeBron and AD at 100% or as close to as they possibly can. And they've had a gap at center anyway. Marc Gasol, he's at the back end of his career. He's never been a very mobile person. So Drummond's got all the room to perform. I'm looking forward to it.
So before, obviously at the Cavs, he was putting up 17.5 points, 1.2 blocks, 1.6 steals, 2.6 assists, and 13.5 rebounds. Expect that to stay the same? Go down, go up, go down?
I expect the same, or potentially it to go up a bit actually.
Go down.
Because no lie. AD's rebounding has been going down the last couple of years. I think they're pulling him away from the basket a lot more, so his offensive rebound's been hurt. And you know what? He ain't really trying to bang from what I'm seeing on the defensive board. So Andre Drummond's got all the opportunity to continue doing his 13 plus. I do not see why not.
Do you think Andre Drummond starts?
In the regular season, or are we talking playoffs?
Regular season.
For the remainder of the regular season, Andre Drummond will start at the Lakers with Montrez off the bench.
Okay, it's interesting because the Lakers the last couple years have been playing the worst center in the starting lineup. They've been playing JaVale
As in JaVale over Dwight.
Yep, and Marc Gasol over Montrezl Harrell.
I think that's more because of the players themselves. Montrez doesn't offer no rim protection. AD's been out for a little while now, but I think even to begin the season, Montrez has been looked as a sixth man. I think when he was signed, we all looked at him as a sixth man. So I think it's more of them just playing the role they intended for him to play, as opposed to that starting spot not being available to the better center.
Yeah, I don't agree because with Dwight Howard, I think because he's so foul prone, it made more sense for him to be that rim protector that just comes off the bench and has no risk of actually having to start and being in foul trouble.
No. Because he was still playing big minutes. It's not just starting. The secondary center's playing more minutes than the starting
Starting.
center. That's what was also happening. So he was still going to get his foul count. That was still going to be high.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a trend I've noticed. So it'll be interesting to see if that carries on.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how many minutes he plays. If I was running the situation, I'm trying to keep his minutes low. I'm trying to say really and truly, we're just trying to play you in certain matchups in the playoffs. You're not going to re-sign with us next year because you're going to want a big boy contract that we can't offer you. Me personally, I would like to see him coming off the bench. Interesting to see if he even finishes games, because we know the Lakers' best lineup is with AD at center, and then they just go into ultimate isolation with him and LeBron running side pick and roll all day, every day. So if you now want to play Drummond, now you're clogging up the paint. Does that mean you now run pick and roll with Drummond? Even though I don't think Drummond's a great pick and roll offensive player, but if you run pick and roll with Drummond, would you now want to relegate Anthony Davis to be in a corner floor shooter on the weak side? I wouldn't want to do that with one of the best 10 players in the league. What you do have in Drummond, which I don't think is talked about enough, though, is he's actually a really good passer. I'm not saying he's Jokic level, but he's actually a really good passer. So when teams want to go into that zone that we're seeing crop up more frequently, especially in the playoffs, you now have someone that could be that zone buster at the free throw line in Andre Drummond, who's not scared to catch the ball, turn and face, and look at all of his options. It doesn't always have to be AD, doesn't always have to be LeBron. It doesn't have to be Caruso, who I saw try to break his zone the other day and fell over. He bumped into someone, he didn't know, he said, sorry, be cut. It was weird. But there's a lot of, what's this going to do for Montrezl Harrell? Is he going to see his minutes dissipate?
I don't think so. I think Montrez, personally, is quite comfortable coming off the bench. I think he prefers it.
Ain't he trying to get paid as well?
No, he will still get paid because that's what he's carved out a lane.
He's his player, yeah.
He knows what he is. Everyone knows what he is, and he's good at what he does. That's as simply as it is.
And the two players that we're talking about are two players that are notorious. I won't really say notorious for Montrez. He's been doing it a couple of years, but they're known and they often do get their stats consistently in low minutes. You see Montrez playing 20 minutes a game and he'll have his 20 points or he'll have his 9 odd rebounds or whichever. You see Drummond playing 25 minutes a game and he's got 15 and 15.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for. And I think because there's question marks over the AD situation, I think there is a lot of opportunity there from a fantasy perspective. And he's healthy. He's notoriously healthy. How often does Drummond get hurt?
Yeah, no, that's true. But the thing is, I don't know if he is actually going to get the same level of rebounds that he got, for instance, at Detroit and Cleveland, because he gets a lot of his rebounds by going back up him damn self, yeah. And I don't think the Lakers are going to afford him that luxury. So where he gets the initial rebound,
that bully
going to have to come down. Yeah, he's going to have to come down and kick it back out. Yeah,
no team would ever stop.
No.
On the offensive boards. No
one is coaching you to get an offensive rebound and kick it back out. That's no one in the world is coaching that. The most efficient shot is still the shot at the rim.
This is why I say Drummond's the kind of players that are safer to get his stats consistently, because his 16 plus points doesn't come from one-on-one or ISO situations.
Here's where you could be wrong, Kais. Here's where you could be wrong. There's just more competition for the rebounds. You have a great rebound in Anthony Davis, a great rebound in Montrezl Harrell, a great rebounder in LeBron.
Who's the best rebounder out of all of them?
What game is it?
Not in the playoffs, regular season. Because don't forget, we're playing fantasy right now. All I need is reg season.
We're talking about regular season and we're talking about fantasy. So we're trying to balance this. But who are they playing? Are they
80% of the league? Because most of the league have not got a center.
If they're playing Brooklyn and Kyrie was just talking shit 2 days ago, the best rebounder is LeBron. So in a regular season, he's the best. But will he get enough minutes? I would like to see him off a bench role, coming on when LeBron comes off, to play with Schroeder and so they could maybe form a partnership there, because the Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell partnership hasn't really kicked off as I would have liked to have seen it.
I've got the luxury at the moment where even if his rebounds do dip, I've got 3 other players that are looking like the average double-digit rebounds.
It's still an improvement from nothing that you're getting.
So exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
That's true. But next we have the Clippers, the other LA team. They've acquired Rajon Rondo.
Ranjon.
Is it Rajon? Rajon?
Rajon.
Rajon.
Um,
And from Atlanta Hawks. They also sent Lou Williams packing to get those lemon pepper wings over them sides. What do you think, guys?
Lou Williams wasn't really doing it this year for whatever reason. Maybe it's his age to caught up with him. He wasn't really doing it last year either, to be fair with him. And the Clippers do need a point guard. They have Rondo, who wasn't doing anything at Atlanta. Secretly, he wasn't good last year with the Lakers. I know he had a couple games in the playoffs last year, and everyone wants to say playoff Rondo, but when you really look at the game log, he had just as many horrible games as he did have good games. But I'm sure people were watching all the games without League Pass. But yeah, there's no way Rondo is better than he was last year. There's a chance he's a lot worse, and that's who they've signed. I mean, if it works out for them, cool. Fantasy-wise, he's not going to give anyone anything at all. He's likely to get injured between now and the finals anyway, because that's his history for the last 5 years.
Yeah, he doesn't care about the regular season.
But they had to do something. They had to do something.
Yeah, even if he's just a move to get something out of Kawhi and Paul George, even if it's not just to play on the actual court, and his intelligence to be in that team I think is going to be very valuable, personally.
I've not got too much to say on that trade. I think it's the case of they valued a true point guard way more than a bench scorer. It's going to do a lot more for that team. There were talks all last summer, wasn't it, of them trying to go for Rondo. He just happened to go for the money. He's very smart. He is very, very, very smart because he got his money from a team like the Hawks, and now technically he's back at a contender. So Rondo, do you think?
I have a feeling that, Mr. West, Mr. Logo may have had a hand in all of that, to be honest, saying, yeah, go get your money from Atlanta. Don't worry, we'll get you back.
Smart enough to do it.
Yeah.
He's smart enough to do it.
He's always the smartest man in the room, Mr. Jerry West. But then next we have Denver, and they have also picked up Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark from the Magic, sending out Gary Harris.
RJ Hampton.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
So I like the move for them because they now have someone who reasonably can guard LeBron. They now can say, cool, Aaron Gordon, you're guarding Kawhi, you're guarding KD, you're guarding, whatever wing, which is great. JaVale McGee, a bit more rim protection for them. I like it's a smart move. I like it. They had it. Who did they trade last year that they had?
Who? What?
A wing.
Jeremy Grant.
Yeah. Oh, of course you would remember.
Did they trade him or didn't they let him walk? I thought they let him walk. In free agency.
No, they let him walk.
Yeah, because that's what I see Aaron Gordon as. Is kind of a player that can fill that role. As opposed to being a lockdown defender, is more of a kind of enforcer, tough body, decent weight for his size. Fill some minutes, share minutes with Paul Millsap, can play in the post, can play on the perimeter a little bit. It's a versatile pick, and I think Denver, that's what they boast at the moment, is those versatile large players, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fits the ethos they've got over there.
I'm not gonna lie, I think he's actually kind of in his perfect role. You know how we always say we don't know what Aaron Gordon is? He's kind of in a role where we don't know what he is, we don't know what he's doing, but he's a decent enough player to make a positive impact on the team. So yeah, I think him, as you said, just defending, getting a couple shots up. He's actually a decent ball handler as well and facilitator. So I think
forget all that stuff. That's not what he's there for. He's there to play defense. Keep it simple. That's it. That's all he needs to do.
People tell me he can shoot. Apparently,
word. His stats are probably gonna go down. Cool. He's there to play defense in the playoffs. It's a smart move. Fantasy wise, I don't think he's doing much for anyone personally.
Okay, fair enough. Well, no one's got him anyway, to be honest. But
it's not he's not my kind of player anyway, to be fair. I don't deal with them kind of dons.
Yeah.
To be honest.
The other contender we obviously Dallas Mavericks, they picked up JJ Redick and Nicola Melli. Any quick notes on that one?
Voos. I think it's
No,
going to be
we're talking
interesting.
about Dallas.
Oh, apologies. I'm skipping over. Dallas, the picked up, was it JJ? Floor spacer, not long lost Seth. I think he does a similar role. I think they've seen how much not having Seth Curry on the team has affected them, to be fair, early on. So it's more of bringing that back to the team, someone that can space the floor consistently every game, and you know what he's going to do. So,
yeah.
He hasn't been good this year, though. That's the only thing I will say. But again, they needed a shooter. Good move for them.
I think it's funny that they tried to move away from offense. Trying to get Josh Richardson, tried to go a bit more defensive, and then they said, it's actually not working. Let's go back to offense.
It could be said that the perimeter defense has improved a bit. It's just come from an abysmal place, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's taken a step forward. It's just if you're taking a step forward from very low, you're not going too far. But it's improvement.
But yeah, you mentioned it, Curtis. One of the bigger moves in the East, I'll say, Chicago picking up Vucevic, and Al-Farouq Aminu from the Magic. I think personally, it's a good move for Big Vuce.
As Vucevic's owner, let's not skip over that. What do you feel will happen to Vucevic's numbers? Do you think they're going to be similar? Do you see a dip coming, increase?
Yeah, to be honest, for me, I think I see increase. Unfortunately, there's been a slight injury to Zach LaVine. So in the interim, we certainly should see an increase from Vucevic's numbers, especially rebounders, because they shoot a lot of threes. So yeah, I can't imagine why they wouldn't increase in terms of his overall production. But yeah, I think we should go back to Portland and have a look at what's happened over there.
I think we may have breezed over Portland. I think I remember mentioning, it could have been on the opposite end, to be fair, the Raptors end. But I do remember mentioning, I think it's a big move for them in terms of getting Norman Powell. I'm just not sure of his contract situation, but the position that the Trailblazers are in, they need to be making moves to try and take that next step in the playoffs. So I don't blame them for taking a stab at a player that might not be there in a couple of months' time.
Yeah. I like Norman Powell. He's had a good year. He's an experienced player. I think, them get rid of Gary Trent I feel like Gary Trent was a younger Norman Powell and a more experienced and more versed player. So I think, they're just getting ready for the playoffs, personally.
I think he could potentially lower Lillard's and McCollum's stats because he's another offensive player, not great defensively. Portland have seemed to just said, you know what, Barnett, we're gonna try to outscore everyone. He may have an effect, a deleterious effect, even on the stats of McCollum and Lillard. So that may be something for fancy GMs to look out for there.
GMs like Demela and Jermaine, Demela's got Lillard and Jermaine's got McCollum. Yeah, I think obviously if anyone's going to be more affected than anyone, it should be McCollum, to be honest, because he's number 2.
And the positioning as well, isn't it? Norman Powell's not a main ball handler. He's more of a wing, two-way. Well, I can't say two-way. He plays okay defense, puts in effort. Yeah. But he's more of a two-way wing kind of player. So probably McCollum, especially as he's coming off injury. So that probably gave them a bit more ethos to get in someone that can play that role if it needs to be in terms of starting.
Okay. But yeah, just to go back to, is there any final notes that anyone wants to mention on the trades? I think we covered the majority of them personally, quite thoroughly, I would say.
Yeah, I can't think of anything other impactful trades or anything. No.
But what I really want to go on to is actually the waiver wire pickups of the week. I think one of the ones worth mentioning is actually the pickup that I made, which is a young guy called Moses Brown from OKC. I picked him up for $20. Dropped James Wiseman. He's been for myself, has been fairly disappointing this year. I thought Golden State would feature him a lot more. I do think he needs a year in the league to develop, and I think they're not prepared to risk it on him, which I thought they would do. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I say it every year with regards to Wiseman. I know that you won't mention that as a main point, but with rookies in general, for people that play fantasy, there's only one or two that really do tend to have big seasons in terms of being efficient and actually putting up decent numbers. So when you are in a position where you've got multiple rookies, or a lot of people are picking up a whole load of rookies during their draft, there's only going to be one or two that are actually going to be worthwhile. But with regards to the pickup in itself, Moses Brown, I think it's a big pickup. I think it's a good pick.
I think so too.
I think you've been lucky that Al Horford has been shut down for the season. That's played in your favor, because OKC are going to go through a period now where they're just going to give anyone minutes and say, do what you can do. I think the one thing that can and may shock you is how fast that teams change their mind when they're in those kind of positions. Because although they've given him something further than the two-way deal, it can change in a flash in terms of teams just saying, okay, we've seen enough of you.
Yeah.
We're going to look at someone else.
Yeah, I hear that. But I think that is a noteworthy pickup for the fantasy people out there. But yeah, the other pickups were Joe Ingles was picked up by Clutch City. By
Oh, wait. Do we not ask my opinion anymore? Is that what happened?
Oh, I don't know. You were just sitting there quietly. I didn't know you had anything to add.
I was letting Curtis speak.
Yeah, by all means.
Referring to me now, yeah? Oh, can I speak?
Of course.
Goodness.
The old statement in the building. Let's have a
Imagine I was commissioner and they're just skipping past me. This is the lack of it. Let me vent here for a second. The lack of respect that I get from members in this league, and there's certain people time and time again throwing the same amount of disrespect. That is unbelievable. The stuff I've done for this league, for them to not even ask me a question on the league that I birthed is outrageous. You're here because of me. Remember that.
And what do you have to say? I bet he has nothing to say. I swear. I bet he has nothing to say at all.
I have nothing to add.
That is typical.
Typical. Yeah. Before I got, rudely interrupted, I was saying Clutch City, Jermaine picked up Joe Ingles, dropped Kevin Love. Absolutely awful pick. I told him Kevin Love was late. He's old. He's past it. He's at Cleveland Cavaliers team that's going nowhere fast, and there's no reason they would feature him. Then you had Atlanta Snipers who dropped Delon Wright from the Sacramento Kings, who was I believe the Pistons starting guard when he picked him up.
Yeah.
And he picked up Jakob Pearl from Spurs.
So it's a good pickup. A very good pickup.
I told him about Delon Wright. Stop telling me about Delon Wright. Stop calling my phone about Delon Wright. Stop messaging me out Delon Wright. Delon. I don't want to hear it. He's like, Delon. I'm like, Delon. Leave me alone, fam. I don't want it. I'm glad he's off his team.
Some meaty player, innit?
Now I can hear about Jacobs Crackers Turtle, fam.
Right. He thought he got a TJ McConnell, innit? He thought he found one.
Now, to be honest, the opportunity and the minutes that Pertle's getting at the moment is doing a job. Like he's doing a thing.
He is.
I'm surprised.
With LaMarcus gone,
Exactly.
even more.
I'm surprised GMs like Demo didn't pick up Pearl, because that could be the difference between him.
Right.
You're surprised Demo didn't make a good move.
Exactly.
I don't know if I say surprised or disappointed. It's a conflict at the moment, but I'm in that position where you see certain players. I know I don't need it, but it's only certain guys that mention people on waivers, but they've got a bit quiet recently. But we won't get into that.
Hey, whoa! I would have picked up Jakob. Yeah, but I had a bit of injuries in my team at the time.
Oh,
I had to have certain players, but that was it. But But the final one is Leicester Red Eyeballs. We got Tahir picking up Yusuf Nurkic from Portland and dropping Marvin Bagley. Thank God for that.
I've got a gripe with Marvin Bagley now, purely because of the home situation, but I won't go back into that. That's been covered on a previous episode. Nurkic is about to come back from injury, isn't he? I can't remember what the injury was. Or I'm not sure if he has already come back.
No, he came back from injury. I believe it was a wrist injury, if my memory serves.
Oh, that was it. A fractured wrist, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is it? I want to say he's a solid player. When he's on, he's on. He can be kind of a double kind of guy. Give that black and a half. When he's off, he's Nurkic. But
do you know what it is? I think Nurkic, his value and his stats are always over. Well, people believe that they're much bigger than they actually are. If you look at his stats, they're never that crazy. And I think the biggest impact that this is going to have fantasy-wise for anyone is for Stevie, and he's going to slow down Kanter.
Yeah, that's for definite. I think it's tough to question Nurkic's value because, again, he has had the injury problems, but when he has been a solid feature in their lineups, he's shown up in playoffs, he's shown up in regular season games. I just think he has had the unfortunate situation of getting injured a lot. He constantly falls out of the lineup.
Yeah, I think his stats improve when he has a run of health. The issue is he doesn't have a run of health. So that's why if you look at his stats retrospectively, they never look that impressive.
Yeah.
You're kind of waiting on a run of health if that ever comes. Who knows?
100%. But before we go, I do really want to mention Russell Westbrook's humongous night. Ray, well done. Yeah, I will say this. You know, you've got a very shameless guy in your team. He picked up 35 points, 14 rebounds, 21 assists, 2 steals, 1 block on 53% shooting. I think it gets him up to a clean average triple-double for the year. So we clearly know what he's going for, as he does every year, but very shameless. Any thoughts on that, lads?
He's at the perfect team to do it. That Wizards team, barring Bradley Beal, is not good at all. So I can't fault him. It's not like we're turning around and we're saying, Westbrook, you're holding back a contender. We're more saying, Westbrook, you're bringing some excitement to DC, and we get to see some crazy stat lines. So more power to him.
Yeah, facts. D?
21 assists, impressive. Yeah, he's capable of throwing up these games, especially the healthier he gets.
Yeah. Okay. But that is all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us again on the Rings and Things Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Join us again next week. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe to all our socials, all that good stuff. Are we out?